Hello everyone. Let's do some SwiftUI work in this new episode where we can show in our UI the selected tile, if any, and the selected unit if one is selected. So let's get started. So I'm in my content view and I want to start by adding a selected tile. And this is an unwrapped version of the selected tile. If we have one, then we add a text. That's a tile. So then we show the selected tile. And we do something similar for a selected entity. And let's build and run. Oh, and let's make sure we can see it well enough. So we'll have a foreground style of white because our background is mostly dark. So let's build and run. And we don't see anything. And the reason is the SwiftUI view doesn't know when data in ViewModel changes because it doesn't get any notification when that happens. To solve that, we need to use the combine framework, and that means that we need to change our ViewModel. So we can start by going into our tests, and I really also want to show how to do tests for combine because it's useful to know. So let's start by creating a new location called combine test, meaning that we also need to import combine. It was there already, no problem. We need to do some boilerplate. We need to store our combine subscribers, and those are for some reason called cancelables, but we need to store them somewhere. That's why we're creating a variable. And I want to create a couple of variables that I can use to store all the data that I receive from combine. So I'll create one called received tiles. That's an array of optional vectors. So this is where I'm going to store each time a selected tile changes, and that because it can also be changed to nil. That's why I want to have an array of optionals, and I want to have an array of received entities, and this is an array of optional entities. And let's run our create our first test. So we'll create a function called test. Selected tile publishes change when selected tile is changed. So we need a view model. With a map, we can use an empty map, and we don't need any entities. We can use an empty array, and then we choose a random coordinate, some random coordinates, let's say 20. We don't care about the numbers, but what we want to have is 20 random values. And then for each random coordinate in random coordinates, we set the selected tile to random. And then we assert that our received tiles, and this time I'm only interested in the unwrapped ones, is the same as our list of random coordinates. So basically, this is what we're going to do. We're creating a list of random coordinates. Then we go through each random coordinate and set the ViewModel selected tile to the random coordinates. If combine is working correctly, that publishes the change of selected tile, and those will get pushed into received tiles. And in the end, received tiles should be the same as the list of coordinates we spent in. But this isn't yet working because we haven't connected received tiles to the ViewModel yet. And to do that, I'm going to create a helper function called register for changes. And this will take in a ViewModel, and it will call ViewModel.selected tile. And this registering or to observe is called sync in Combine language. This receives a value in. That value will be an optional of type vector 3D. And what we can do is we can add that one to our received tiles. And we need to store this one somewhere, otherwise when the function goes out of scope, we immediately lose this, this registration. That's why we need the cancelables to sort of hold on to it. That's just the way it works. Now this doesn't yet compile because ViewModel has no member selected tile, and the reason for that is that our ViewModel only has that if we add published and conform to observable object. So now this one should no longer complain if I give it a bit, and we should be able to run this test. Okay, and this isn't yet working because we're not yet calling the register for changes function. Let's try this again. And now the test passes. Okay, so we can register when selected tile changes. Does it also work if you set it to nil? That's an interesting question. So let's try and make a test for that. Select tile, publishes change when selected tile is set to nil. So this requires a slightly different test, although the first part is the same. Then we make sure that our ViewModel's selected tile has a value. And then we should assert that the last received tiles is not nil. This means this is now a throwing function. Then our ViewModel selected tile we set to nil. Oh, this one is not nil. And now the last one should be nil. Let's see, this should work directly because the Combine framework takes care of this behind the scenes. Let's see. Oh, and this should be nil. Now we can do the same thing for our entity. So we'll just copy these tests. Let's see, this means we also need an entity. Add some starting position. We need an entity here. We register for changes. we do a ViewModel. We set our selected entity to the entity, and then our received entities should, the last one, should be the entity we created, and this is an assert true because we're doing a direct comparison here. Okay, so that's the first test. Then we should also do a test for setting to nil. Again, we need an entity. We register for changes. Set our selected entity to this entity. Then our last received entities should not be nil. Then we set it to nil. And the last one should again have a nil value. We just need to change our register for changes function because we're not just interested in selected task but also selected entity. Received entities we append, and we store this one too in the cancelables set. So selected entity doesn't compile because we can't find this dollar version. That's because this one too needs to be set as published, and now this one should no longer complain. Let's run our test. And the test passes. So now we need to do one more thing. Our ViewModel our content view should check our ViewModel for changes, and we can do that by creating a StateObject. And now if we build and run, we should see indeed the selected tile at the bottom. So we can see which one is clicked or selected. If we select one that has a unit on it, we also see a selected entity. Isotutorial at entity, that's not really nice. I think it's better if we use the sprite's name here. Let's quickly see what happens. Now we can see we select a knight. We selected the rogue. Of course, we still have the UI that uses this to create movement. But as you can see, the UI is responsive to the changes in the ViewModel. So that's what I wanted to do for now. Next time I want to build on this and create a proper command menu for a unit. So you don't just select an entity and where you click you always move. I want to have sort of a menu there where you can give a move command or do something else later on if that's required. Thanks for watching and have a good day.